I was going to leave this one alone, but this one really pissed me off.
And if I see that he's got a belly sticking out, I already know he's probably got insulin resistance because all the fat is in here. And it's very hard for him to lose weight.
Why is it harder?
The only thing that'll make you lose that fat very quickly is to change your diet, of course, but you have to do fasting. Because fasting brings your insulin level. See, this is where fasting comes in.
Fasting or a calorie deficit, or is it the same thing in your view?
No, they're not the same thing. They are not the same thing.
So that's a fucking lie, because they are the same thing. And here's the great part, is I'm not just going to talk shit. I'll provide evidence. There are dozens of studies comparing fasting, standard calorie deficit head to head, and they always result in being the exact same outcome. But here, I won't be super dogmatic, and I'll even go one farther, and I'll use this meta-analysis to steelman his argument a little bit. A meta-analysis is always a study of studies, and this one looked at a whole bunch of different studies comparing fasting to a standard calorie deficit. And to slightly defend what he mentions is that in the short term, there are bigger body weight reductions in fasting. However, a lot of these articles will actually show that you lose more fat-free mass, meaning muscle mass. And then let's top off with, after the short-term benefits, in the long term, the outcomes are the same. But here's something he's also not talking about with the research, is adherence. Because fasting is kind of fucking hard if you don't want to fast. In this article, they compared fasting and a standard calorie deficit to compare the adherence. And those doing fasting didn't follow it 71% of the time compared to 32%. Now here's the thing, I do believe that a standard calorie deficit is an easier way to do it, but even then, 32% of people didn't agree with that because it was still difficult. No matter what, getting into a calorie deficit is difficult. I wish more of these fasting zealots could just put their bias aside and be open and honest and say, hey, you know what? Fasting is just a simpler way for me to get a calorie deficit because then I don't have to calorie track. I would just respect that person so much more because that's truly what it is. My bias is calorie tracking so I can fit in the favorite foods that I want throughout the day, and I can eat when I think I need to throughout the day based on my energy levels. So ignore people who are trying to say their way is the only way. End of the day, it's going to be your way. Maybe you like fasting, maybe you don't. Either way, you just got to know you need a calorie deficit and it's going to suck a little bit. Choose the way that sucks the least for you.